Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Samacharan Saroja Sandra Neelambudabham Jagana Nihita Panim Mandanam Mandananam Taruna Tulasimala Kandharang Kanjanetram Sadaya Dhavalahasam Vitthalan Chintayami Vitthalan Chintayami. So we are in verse 731. Atman is thus a witness. It says, I am the knower in waking state. I am the seer of the dream, and I am the enjoyer of happiness in the deep sleep. 732. So Atman, which is fully aware as a witness in all the three states, cannot be void. O king, it is the complete pure spirit, and it is Paramatman. 733. Now you will ask that if there is a realization of Brahman in a certain way, then why is there contact with the outer world and experience there afterwards? My reply to that is, the pride or the ego is not totally destroyed while one is asleep, but it is dormant in ignorance or avidya. Therefore, the illusion about the reality of outer world again arises. 734. It is quite a different thing that when avidya is destroyed together with ego or pride, then only the man sees the whole world as Brahman, and then only the birth and death are uprooted, and the jiva and the Brahman become one. 735. Then only the absolute Brahman remains in great joy of existence without purpose. The simile, the measure, the problem, or the factor which takes measure. 736. There are waves upon waves of bliss. The joy enjoys the joy as the whole world is blessed by self-bliss. There is a great divine uproar of ecstasy. 737. O king, if you ask us as to when you will get such experience after the dissolution of Maya, I advise you to surrender yourself to the hero of the Yadus, the Lord Shri Krishna.
Yerhajjanabhacharanai Cheto malani vidhamed gunakarmajani Tasmin vishuddha upalabhyata atma tattvam Sakshad yatha savitri prakashaha.
Meaning of the verse, just as the light of the sun shines to the clear eyes, so the truth of the self is directly revealed to the pure heart of the man who is earnestly devoted to the Lord and intensely desires to reach his holy feet, and has thus freed his mind from the impurities born of qualities or gunas and actions or karma. 738. If there is intense aspiration to achieve the state of reality, which is not having any ripple of limited thought, one should be an ardent, loving devotee of the Lord. 739. One should leave one's attachment to the sun, the money, and popularity, but should dance like a madman in the joy of devotion of God. 740. When thus these attachments are cut and one continues to devote himself earnestly to God, then the accumulation of the dirt of ages on the mind starts to be cleaned every moment. 741. There are many dirty things in our mind which arise from past actions and are of the gunas or qualities, and they are washed clean by the waters of devotion. 742. The more intense a devotion becomes, the more the ascetic attitude develops and comes to serve our feet. And attachment to the objects of pleasure is reduced, and the mind becomes pure. 743. When the mind becomes pure, it begins to realize that God is in every being, and the man begins to worship him like that, which is the fourth and the highest level of devotion. 744. This is a very noble devotion. It destroys the ego of the devotee. It uplifts the gods, men, women, and the Shudras also, and thus it fills the jiva with joy. 745. When this devotion is attained, there is total end of the fear of this worldly life. Freedom of all the four types serves you. The devotion of Lord Hari is thus very generous. 746. When there is some trouble in the eye, the man is not able to see the sun, even though it is bright. How can he then see other objects? 747. When that trouble in eye is cured and the vision is cleared, he can see the sun and all the other objects also. 748. Similarly, though the Paramatman is residing in the heart of a person, it is not realized so long as the mind is having impurities, because it is polluted by various cravings and desires. 749. Thus, it is true that mind is purified only if one is an ardent devotee of the Lord, and it is by such intense yearning that the devotee can reach the stage of balanced purity and blotlessness. 750. O King, I have told you accurately about the devotion, which is the only powerful means to attain the supreme state. 751. Just as one can see clearly the sun and its light, as well as other objects, when the vision is cleared, so also when the pollution of ideas is removed from the mind, the absolute reality becomes very brilliant. 752. Please understand this clearly, that when the mind reaches the doubtless state of serenity, then though the person is living in a body, he is not touched by the chains of worldly life. 753. In this way, the sage Pippalayana emphasized his opinion, which made the king very happy because it tallied with his own experience. 754. The king developed deeper interest in the subject, and in order to be able to listen to extended commentary, asked further question. 755. The king, with great respect, put a question to the sages in order to learn the complete characteristics of the yoga of action.
Rajovacha karmayogam vadatanaha purusho yena samskritaha vidhuyeha shukarmani naishkarmyam vindate param.
Meaning of the verse. The king said, please tell us about the yoga of action, by the merit of which a man, by washing here all the actions, quickly reaches the highest state. 756. The king was full of faith in the Atman. He asked most humbly, O master, please tell me fully about the yoga of action by which the bondage of karma is cut. 757. Please tell me the real secret of the action to be taken by which all the residual effects of past actions are wiped out clean and the state of actionless consciousness is attained and the person meets the supreme person.
Evam prashnam rishīn purvam aprachan piturantike nabruvan brahmanah putraha tatra karanamuchyata.
Meaning of the verse. The same question I asked the sages in the presence of my father in the past, but those sons of Brahman did not answer. Please tell me the reason why they did not speak. 758. O master, the same question was asked by me in the presence of my father to the Kumaras, Shanaka, etc. But they did not give me any reply. Why? Please tell me about that also. 759. The king's questions were very noble. The sage Avirodhra came forward happily and gave his comments on the varieties of karma.
आविर्होत्र उवाच कर्मा कर्म विकर्मेति वेदवादो न लौकिकः वेदस्य चेश्वरात्मत्वात् तत्र मुह्यन्ति सूरयः.
Meaning of the verse, Avirhotra said, there are three categories, example, karma, akarma, and vikarma. It is not so in Vedas. This tri-vision is of common thinkers. Vedas are equal to God and Atman. That is why the thinkers get confused. 760. Avirhotra said, O king, the three categories of karma as karma, akarma, and vikarma are not simple to understand. Many great religious lawmakers have not been able to define them. 761. One who was able to create parallel worlds, Vishwamitra, was not able to clear the confusion in this respect. And the other, who consumed the whole ocean in one gulp, Agastya, was also drowned in this sea called karma. 762. There are innumerable sages who were exhausted while arguing about karma according to their convictions and opinions, but in vain. 763. Even the god Brahma could not define these divisions properly. So what hope can others have? 764. Vedas are the root of karma, and Narayana is the Veda incarnate. So the Shrutis and Darshanas had to be quiet while thinking about the sentences like, you are that. 765. Though all the three categories are in a sense, yet there are differences. I will tell you the scope of the different types. Please listen with proper attention. 766. Sugar has three qualities. It appears white, it is smooth, sweet, but sugar is one material. Similarly, the persons who have knowledge about karma separate it in three categories. 767. If the sweetness of sugar is left out of consideration, then its whiteness and smoothness remain. If its whiteness is left out, the smoothness and sweetness remain. 768. Similarly, if karma is separated, then the akarma and vikarma are still to be reckoned. 769. That which arises out of any transaction is karma, and actions which are either sanctioned or not sanctioned are called vikarma. 770. Karma comes into being and develops from akarma. That is the stage and power of Atman. And one who can discern this basic karma in the activities sanctioned or not sanctioned by law is able to attain the stage of nishkarmata, the state of complete freedom from action by the grace of his guru. 771. When there is superimposition of karma upon karma, it is called vikarma. Specialized karma as duty. And when no action can take place at all, it is called akarma, and rightly so. 772. Now you had asked this question about such a difficult matter to the Kumaras when they did not reply because they thought that you were too young. 773. O Prince, unless the listener is a man of great moral capacity and knowledge, the subject of this karma should not be taught to him, because karma is baffling even to the most learned men.
Parokshavaado vedoyam balanamanuशासनम् karma mokshaya karmani vidhatte jagadam yatha.
Meaning of the verse. The Veda has a deeper meaning than what the words apparently convey. The real purpose of the Veda is to secure exemption of freedom from actions, and their fruit. But obviously, temptations of gaining heaven through prescribed actions are held out to the ignorant, just as a boy is tempted with sweets to swallow a bitter medicine. 774. The father of a child gives medicine to it and gives some sugar to ensure that the medicine will be taken happily and willingly. 775. Similarly, simple, ignorant people think that what Vedas tell in covered language indirectly is the straight statement of facts. But Vedas intend to tell people how to cut the ties of karma by karma only. 776. There is an allurement of heavenly pleasures connected with performance of good actions mentioned in Vedas. But it is a kind of encouragement intended to make people habituated to good actions. The essence of the directives given by Vedas is to enable people to wipe away their binding actions by unattached performance of their duties. 777. If someone sells the hammer brought with the intention to shatter the fetters around the feet, his fetters will never be broken. 778. Similarly, forgetting the intended breaking of the bondage of action, people perform for sense enjoyments. Their bondage will never be released, and birth and death cycle will never be broken. 779. Secondly, the plight or tragedy of one who does not perform ordained actions also, on the pretext that since he does not wish to attain heaven, it is not necessary to perform actions, is quite another matter. He is really doomed.
आचरेद्यस्तु वेदोक्तं स्वयमज्ञो जितेन्द्रियः विकर्मणा ह्यधर्मेण मृत्योर्मृत्युमुपैति सः.
Meaning of the verse: one who is himself ignorant and has no control over his sense organs and fails to perform actions enjoined by the Vedas commits the dereliction and passes from one death to another, is caught in a birth and death chain. 780. When he has no control over his senses, he who does not perform his duties as ordained by the Vedas loses his spiritual growth and also becomes further deteriorated in his life. 781. Even if a person is erudite and greatly learned, but neglects his ordained actions, he should be considered as knowingly doomed and drowned in the sea of suffering. 782. He who does not perform the Veda enjoined duties and is proud of his being action-free is really deceived and totally doomed due to his mistaken pride. 783. Even if he has controlled his senses but fails to do his duty as ordained by Veda, he has verily broken his legs by a heavy stone and has reserved his place in the hell. 784. Veda is the root of spiritual life, and therefore, O king, whatever one may do, except the actions laid down by Vedas, will definitely be a cause for spiritual fall. 785. Eyes are useful to see, but if we take them out, can we see anything? Our power of seeing ends. Then who will see other objects? 786. So he who does not perform his duties, but does variety of other activities, should be considered as one who has invited disaster to his home. 787. Those who are carried away by the trouble-making activities go on taking births after births and never become free. 788. Even after a long chain of births and deaths, one cannot avoid this tragic destiny, and this is the result of failing to do the Veda-ordained duties. 789. The words vikarma and adharma are used in the Sanskrit verse, which means that there is a lack of dharma in that vikarma. But do not suppose that akarma means lack of dharma. 790. Akarma is that state to which the bondage of karma does not touch, even if we try. And it also means nishkarma, the state of freedom from karma, which also means real dharma, by which the sages have attained absolute freedom. 791. When one understands the pure state of actionlessness, he becomes immediately free of action, and in that itself, freedom becomes a maidservant of that seeker.
वेदोक्तमेव कुर्वाणः निस्सङ्गोऽर्पितमीश्वर्ये नैष्कर्म्याल् लभते सिद्धिं रोचनार्था फलश्रुतिः.
Meaning of the verse: one who performs only actions prescribed by the Vedas without attachment to their fruits and surrendering them to the Lord attains to that ultimate fulfillment, which means that knowledge of which arises from freedom from actions. The promise of fruits mentioned in the Vedas is only to create interest in the actions, but really for getting ultimate freedom from them. 792. Just as a maidservant is obedient to her master, or just as the seal of the king is honored by everybody in his kingdom, the man is obedient to the orders of the Vedas and performs his own duties without selfish desire. 793. And of course, if he does not allow a feeling of pride to arise in his mind that he is the doer, that action becomes offering to the god. 794. The action which is in this way offered to the god becomes an action without any hooks or attachments, and that is the state of actionlessness. 795. No doubt there are fruits mentioned in the Vedas, but he whose mind is devoid of any desires and is very clean has not to receive any fruits, so laid down by Vedas, even in his dream. 796. But people are completely deceived when they desire for enjoyment of fruit. Just as a person sells the magic stone, paris, and demands a betel nut for his pan, such is their foolishness. 797. For example, sandalwood is famous for its good smell and not for any fruit. But if one demands that it must give us fruit, it is nothing but self-deception. 798. The Vedas have promised fruit for the performance of action, just as there is a bait to the angle of fishing meant for attracting fish. 799. Do people use the bait to help the fish live in the water, or do they take the fish out? Thus, action destroys action. But people who are desirous of fruit for the actions do not know this simple fact. 800. The main purpose of the Vedas is first to encourage actions with a hint of good result, but in fact, it aims at the attainment of the state of actionlessness. 801. Action is always coupled with fruit, but it's useless to a man who is not anxious for fruit. Knowing this, the wise give up all the desire for fruit.
We can stop over here.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You can tell your thoughts first, Sachin.
Yeah, a lot about action, different types of action, the three types, karma, akarma, and vikarma that is talked. And actionlessness was also discussed very nicely, like how that concept of giving up, surrendering to the Lord is also one step in actionlessness and pure devotion. Those topics were very nice, yeah.
It's beautiful reading, how we have to act, what we have to actually do, and what leads us. So those explanations, these are coming. And this, the last when you read, no, the main purpose of Vedas is first to encourage actions with a hint of good result. But in fact, it aims at the attain. So we have this karma kanda and jnana kanda. So you want what putra you want job, you want this, you want. For all that, how in a dharmic way a living can be done, that's all our karma kanda. You want yasha, you want kirti, aishwarya, pashu, dhanya, so many things are there. So many stotras are also for that to invoke, okay, grace of Lakshmi, great. Everything is there, everything is Vedokta. So the sanctioned and not sanctioned was it. So you do all the karmas and Vedas is not saying. So to attain worldly pleasures also actions are said. But do it in the dharmic way, not in the wrong way. So it's not. And then when you fulfill, okay, I want to study this, earn this position. Afterwards, what? Now, then there would be a point where that action is no more so much pleasing, and you would drop that for something higher. It would be dropped. Then you are coming into the jnana time. So Vedas has never prohibited from enjoying life, what people say, inverted comma, that I want this, but if you become to spirituality, you can't enjoy that. No, Vedas has not said anything. Enjoy. And they've given ways how you can have Bahuputra, you have Dhanadhanya, you have all the Ashtaishwaryas. It's giving all the ways. But eventually, this that 800 point says it will attain how to be in the state of actionlessness means now I'm performing actions not to gain something for myself. Then it would go more universal action, global action, and then it will become more centered that you don't see any meaning in chasing the fruit of the action anymore. So that stability, until those vasana pressure is there, we will be acting towards it, that I want certain thing. After that, that vasana pressure disappears, then it will, knowing your own true nature only will remain. That you have to get that permanent happiness. So when again and again we will see that the happiness is not in a particular person, happiness is not in a particular thing or a experience, then happiness is there. Then when that question comes, we will turn to Jnana Panda. Beautiful reading today. Anybody has any other thoughts?
I don't have any thought, but I was a bit confused about what the term vikarma means. In one of the verses, say action upon actions is vikarma, but is vikarma something which is when we do something which is not prescribed by the Vedas?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Not doing action that is supposed to be done. That is, yes.
Nice. Okay. Thanks.
Gita chapter 3.
781 says about how a person neglects his ordained actions. It just brought me back to in chapter 2, it talks about Swadharma.
Yes.
Today I had done that. So it just, it's like so coincidentally it came how much Krishna has spoken about Swadharma and doing actions with Dharma. So it's very beautiful.
And chapter 3 and 4 is completely this. So over to you, Sajiji, for closing prayers.
Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamataya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu.
Hari Om, everyone. Thank you, Sajiji. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Hari Om.
Thank you, Hari Om.
Hari Om, Saji. Thank you.